Maybe one of the things that I like about blues so much, it's a tradition, so and it's a very slow-moving, slowly evolving tradition. Not like jazz, which evolves fairly rapidly and changes styles completely. You know, within a decade, it doesn't sound the same at all and stuff like that. Blues is much slower, and they still sing songs today and record them again that they first recorded in 1929 or whatever, you know. But at the same time, while it has that traditional aspect and you're expected to somehow connect with that and stay within the tradition, it also allows you and expects you to be your own voice, you know, to add something to it. You're not supposed to really do it exactly the way it was done before. And if you do it that way, that never lasts. I mean, you know, the only people that get any kind of recognition or are remembered in blues or did anything significant did their own thing with it. Even though it's that, and that's an interesting sort of juxtaposition. It's not as regimented as classical music where you're expected to do the same, what's on the page is what you're supposed to play. And at the same time, it's not as loose as, you know, let's say free jazz or something where it's all in the moment and you're not supposed to do, you know. So it's sort of like a, language. It has its rules and its grammar and whatever, but you're not supposed to just keep saying the same thing. You're supposed to say something individual with it. Well, I was born in Cologne, Germany, but I grew up in Canada. And ethnically, I guess I'm a bit of a mutt. On my father's side, there's some French, and my mother's side, there's some Slovenian and Italian.
Thought I know what it means to be lonesome. I thought I know what it means to be blue. I thought I know what it means to be lonesome, baby. I thought I know what it means to be blue. But I never felt sorrow, baby. You know I never felt sorrow, baby. You know I never felt sorrow, baby, till I fell in love with you.
Well, I heard the blues when I was 6, first time around. My dad worked at a radio station, and they had LPs, and they would play them a certain number of times, and then the grooves would start to wear out, and they would discard them, and people took them home. And my dad brought home a big stack of LPs, mostly not blues, but there was one blues LP in there, and he gave that to me because I guess neither one of them really listened to it. And it was called The Golden Blues Hour, and it had 20 tracks. And I still have it at my mom's place. It had everything from, you know, Mississippi John Hurt and Big Bill Broomsey, all the way to Junior Wells and Buddy Guy. And it was really, that sort of was the first thing that got me into it, and I wanted to hear more of that. I don't know why it hit me, but that was almost immediately. And then I just keep bugging my dad to buy me blues records, and they had a piano, and nobody in my immediate family was all that much of a player. My dad would play Christmas carols on it and stuff like that. But, you know, I mean, once I heard the blues, that's when before that I really didn't have any great interest in playing music, but then I wanted to be like Memphis Slim. As a kid, I didn't have that much appreciation for more cerebral music and all that stuff. But blues had that kind of raw energy, but at the same time it wasn't You know, a lot of people confuse energy with volume and think that if it's driving and it's got a hard beat and it's loud and whatever, then that's passion, but it's not passion. But that stuff, it was all acoustic, it was all scratchy, and my parents didn't listen to rock. I didn't have any kind of that rock influence thing. The only other thing I'd heard was classical music, because my mother used to put on classical music.
Now do you think this is living? Or do you think this is just wasting time? Do you think this is living, baby? Or do you think this is just wasting time? Sometimes I wonder if you're trying to love me. Sometimes I wonder if you're trying to love me, baby. Sometimes I wonder if you're trying to love me, or trying to make me lose my mind.
I have a melancholy side, and blues has a melancholy side, and at the same time, I mean, there's that directness, unpretentiousness. It's very, it sort of speaks to you kind of heart to heart, and I guess for some reason that as a kid that came through to me more so than maybe the more artistic stuff would have. But, and I don't know, I mean, part of it might be too that it would have been completely hopeless for me to try to play classical music. But, you know, noodling around, you can sooner or later start to figure out some chords and start to play a little bit of blues. It sounded pretty awful at the beginning, but I just loved it. I didn't intend to, you know, I didn't pursue music. I didn't intend, even then, I didn't intend to be a musician or anything like that. It was just, it was something that I did the same way I did drawing or art or whatever. It was a way of playing, you know, just a way of entertaining myself, a way of getting out some emotions and all that stuff. But I didn't intend to be a musician, and it wasn't for money, and it wasn't, or not for much money anyway, and it was, you know, it was drinking money mainly. It was mainly a way to get out of myself and get, I guess maybe it was, I was inflicting musical therapy on the audience, I don't know. My dad had all these books on the civil rights movement and so on, so I knew some of the history and some of the, but for some reason it never struck me until I was a teenager that it might be even something to think about, you know, blues and race. And then all of a sudden I went through sort of a crisis of conscience. All of a sudden I thought, what the hell am I doing? I love playing this stuff, but I'm stealing somebody else's identity, sort of, you know. I'm not really, and for a while I couldn't play. It was like I'd feel too, and then at the same time I couldn't stop listening to it either, and couldn't stop wanting to play. So I had to try to find out some kind of rationalization, and the way I ended up looking at it is that it's like a second language. It's not my tradition, but I've learned it, and I'm trying to express myself within it. I guess that's legitimate, just as legitimate as learning another language would be, just as legitimate as, let's say, Kathleen Battle or Jesse Norman singing Italian opera. Yeah, I met Mel Brown at Pop the Gator in Kitchener. He was doing a Wednesday night open stage there in the late 80s, I guess. And I went there the first time I went there, I went with my girlfriend Jocelyn, and I guess trying to impress her, I signed up on the on the sheet to go up and play. And he called everybody up, and he didn't get around to me. And I thought, he's not going to call me up. And secretly, I was sort of grateful for that, because I thought, what did I get myself into? And it was pretty close to closing time, and he looked around the room and he said, "Don't worry, everybody's going to get up tonight. You and you." And he looked over at me, and even you. It's like, because I wasn't probably not even quite old enough to be in the bar. I was like, I must have looked like I didn't know what I was. Anyway, I went up there and I did a song, and Mel Brown liked it, and he started sort of dancing a little bit, and it was quite a long, drawn-out song, because I didn't have any concept of not boring people to death, but they loved it. And then he said, "You're doing fine, baby, do another one." So I did another one, and then he said, "You can come back anytime," and that was cool. So sometimes I did.
When my mother died, my daddy drove me away. Well, when my mother died, my daddy drove me away. Because he got himself another woman, and he would not let me stay. Well, I know my mother loved me. My daddy couldn't give a damn. I saw him 10 years later, man, he had no idea who in this doggone world I am. Out that night, and I wrote a message on the kitchen wall. I said, if I don't come back tomorrow, I ain't coming back at all. Well, I've been dogged and driven since the age of 9, with my head on the pavement and trouble on my mind. These city streets get lonesome. These city nights get awful cold. to wander. When you're only 9 years old, but you know someday I'm gonna have a wife and child of my own. Well, I'm gonna keep them by my side, yes I will. Someday I'm gonna have a wife and child. You know I'm gonna keep them by my side. Mel Brown, you know they're gonna be my joy. Great God, they're gonna be my pride.
He listens and he's economical in what he says, and it's all there. It's right there. So that was, and you learn from that. You know, as you hear somebody play like that, and you learn maybe more than if you just sit there and listen to him, to his thing, which you learn a lot from too. But it's when you're actually there doing it with them. It's immediate. Because you have to react right away. You know, you have to. It's so that there's the learning, I guess, is more intense maybe. Personally, it allows me to get a side of myself out that doesn't come out that easily in other ways. And in a way, it's a bit like acting, or a bit like writing a novel or something like that. You sing things, and you have to make them convincing. You have to make them believe that whatever the song is about, that's you. That's about you. But I mean, I sing a lot of stuff that's obviously not about me, you know. I write songs about convenience store robberies and small-time hustlers getting shot by a pimp, or stuff like that. That I can't say that I've experienced any of those things. But to make it convincing, it's like being I guess it's like being a good actor. You have to become that person. But what it does is, the way you become that is you dig around in your closet, you dig around all the in your own emotional baggage, and you find the emotional baggage that fits the song, and the song becomes sort of a symbolic expression or representation of that.
When they took old Jonah, throwed away his gun. When they took old Jonah, well, he threw away his gun. Said I shot my baby down, I ain't got no lights around. Now Jonah ain't decided, he said nobody knows. Said Jonah ain't decided, he said nobody knows.
Still don't know if I'm going to be a musician forever. It's just, I mean, there's still other things that I like, and other parts of my brain that I want to use sometimes, and it's just one side, and it's a side that doesn't come out so easily in some of the other. In some ways, it's the same as everything else, because that sort of, whatever it is, the creative energy that goes into music is the same that goes into drawing, or the same that goes into writing. Just focused differently. But at the same time, it's also, with music, another side of my personality comes out that is there and has to come out, but it's just not, for example, a lot of people say when I speak I'm kind of quiet and mumbly and shy and all that, and then when I sing I start to belt and yell and and holler, and a lot of people go like, what? That can't be him. But it is, and it's that's one of the things that I love about blues, that it lets me do that. It breaks me out in a way that a lot of other things, I just don't get that stuff out of myself. You know? Well, you can't have a big ego in music. I mean, you kind of have to accept the fact that music is different things to different people. Some just want some sort of something in the background, so when there's a lull in the conversation, it's not dead silence. Some people just want something that's kind of entertaining or whatever it is, but don't care what it is. Very few people, some people come to listen, but not, you know, that's not, you can't really expect that. And then I guess maybe it's a sort of a curious combination of not having an ego and being completely selfish. The not having an ego part means that you can't be offended if people don't like you or don't listen to you or aren't paying attention or aren't even showing up, or, you know, that just happens. It could be that they'd rather be watching the soccer game and you're really getting in the way, and so they'll ask you not to play, you know, whatever. You can't be offended by stuff like that. But at the same time, in order to keep doing it, you have to want to play. You have to kind of play for yourself, and you have to be your own first audience. You know, that's the selfish part, the utterly selfish part of it.
And the red sun rising, and the darkness fades away.
I mean, I can't just stop doing it tomorrow because I don't have anything else to make money with, but that's not why I do it, no. Yeah, you have to love what you do. I mean, there's no good reason to be a musician, especially not a blues musician, if you don't love it. Because you're not going to get rich, you're not going to get famous, you're probably not even going to get healthy.